So we're going to be concentrating on learning how to encrypt a password that users pass into the password feed. Okay, so in such a way that when your users come into the password feed, they put in the password, all right, submit it. Then when the data goes into the database, so the password will be encrypted. All right. So the reason why we do this is because attackers might choose not to use the procedure of actually passing in some statement into your application. They might not want to use that particular method to attack your application, so they might want to use the method of searching, getting the username and the password of the user that you have on that application, trying to get the password so they can get access into that particular application or dashboard or user profile. So that's the reason why I'm going to be showing you how to actually encrypt a password. So the attackers, they can put a software on your page, they can put a software and start passing thousands of users name, thousands of password to actually get the right one that we have inside of that particular database. So if you have a password of maybe 123, okay, so they can actually get this kind of password if you don't have your password encrypted right in the database. Now, and this is to tell you that we are not changing the password. The password still remains the password, but the moment we pass it into the database, they will it will be encrypted into some characters, some words, some characters, so many of those characters, some of those words will be right inside the database. Okay, so we are not changing the password, we are just trying to encrypt it so it will be hard for any attacker to actually decode that particular password. All right, so that is all what we are going to be learning in this particular lecture, how to encrypt the password for the users. All right, now let's move on. Okay, so let's go down to our code. So previously we did something on, I showed you how to escape using, I showed you how to escape characters, escape using the function MySQL real escape string. Okay, so let's move on to the encrypt. Now, using the encrypt password, we are going to be using what we call a crypt function. Okay, so let's go back to let me quickly explain what that is. So just go down to php.net. Okay, go down to php.net. all right, and you will find this function.crypt.php. okay, so you're going to find this right here. So we're going to be using the crypt function to actually encrypt our password and make it more stronger. Okay, now the crypt will create a combination of characters, okay, but it will create something kind of not so strong, okay, something weak. Okay, using the crypt function is going to create the function, but it won't be that very, very strong. Okay, now we're going to add a parameter called sort. Okay, if you add the sort parameter, okay, it will make the password more stronger. Okay, it makes sure that this password is stronger and it gives you a better security. All right, the reason why I know this is because I read through the documentation, and I'm sure that when you read through the documentations that we have here, you will understand better what I'm trying to say. Okay, now let's move on. Now there are so many formats that we the crypt actually supports. Okay, so you can use this std that is des. You can use the extds. You can use the md5. You can use blowfish. You can use SHA 256. You can use SHA 512. Okay, 512. So the one we're going to be using for the course of this lecture is crypt blowfish. All right, we're going to be using blowfish because it's kind of it gives you a very tight, very tight format when encrypting a password. All right, now let's move down to and let me explain to you what we mean by that. Okay, now the standard DES, this is how the password is going to look like. Okay, this is how the password. So we're going to use, in the standard DES, you use what we call the RL. Okay, so the extended DES, we use this. So the MD5, this is how it's going to look. Okay, you use this. Now the blowfish, this is how the blowfish is going to look like. And very importantly, when you're using the blowfish, you have to have it has to be 22 characters. You're going to pass in 22 characters into the blowfish. All right, and they have the SHA-256 and they have the SHA-512. all right, so basically we use MD5. Okay, let's come down. Now this is how the output is going to look like. The standard DES is going to look like this. That's when the password has been encrypted already. This is how the result is going to look like. All right, so the standard DES is going to look like this. The MD5, this is how it's going to look like. The blowfish is going to look like this. Okay, so you see that it's really long. Now the SHA-256 is going to look like this. Okay, it's really long. Now this one, is so very long, and it's really a very good one to actually use it. So the MD5, basically we use it in WordPress, on WordPress sites. Yes, WordPress sites actually use the MD5. Okay, so the blowfish, you can actually use the blowfish. So government actually uses the SHA-256. Okay, so it's really long for governmental stuff, website and application. They use that. All right. So and also the version of PHP that we are actually using is another important requirement. Okay, so we're using a very latest version. All right, so if you want to check your version, just come down to localhost. Okay, so localhost/dashboard, then go to PHP info. You're going to see the version of PHP that you're actually working with. So we have version 8.1.6. so that's the version that we are actually working with. Okay, so let's move on to our code and let me show you how this is actually done. Now follow my lead. Now let's go back to our code. So the first thing we are going to do here, we are going to have a variable. Let's give it hash all right, so we have hash format. Okay, let's put an H here. Okay, now the format we are going to be using, let's go back to that and let me show you something. So we are going to be using this particular format, $2y. Okay, all right, the reason why we use this is because it's a new hash. Okay, and it's more stronger than the every other hashes that we have there. So we're going to use the $2y hash. Okay, so it's a new hash and it's way more stronger than every other ones that we have there. All right, now we're gonna let me copy that. Let me copy that so you can have that. So I'll copy and come back here and paste it. Okay, and the other thing we are going to have here, we're going to put 10. Okay, the reason why we are having 10 is that it will tell the crypt how many times it will run the hash. So I want to run this particular hash 10 times. That's what's going to be happening anytime we put in a password. So it's going to run it 10 times. Okay, so the 10 is going to run it 10 times. So very important that you know that. Okay, so you are telling the crypt how many times that you want that particular hash to run, and we are running it 10 times. So 10 times more stronger. Okay, so it will be really it will be hard for any attacker to actually decrypt what we have, the password that we have going into this particular application. So let's put a semicolon right there. So the next thing we are going to be having now, we're going to create a variable for salt. Okay, so just follow my lead. Now there are 22 characters that we're going to be passing into this salt here. So I just put something down. I'm going to use some crazy, I use some what am I writing? I use some crazy strings, all right, and put 22. So put a semicolon. Very importantly, it must be 22 characters. So let's count this: 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 21 and 22. Very importantly, it must be 22 characters. Now let's move on, and let's create another variable, and let's say hash underscore and salt. So we're going to bring in those two together. Okay, so we have here the hash format. All right, so hash format dot salt. Okay, all right, so we bring them together, all right, using the concatenating the both of them. All right, now the last thing we are going to have here, we're going to use a variable. Okay, so whenever it's when the result of that comes, so we're going to be passing it somewhere. So we say encrypt. Let's just put encrypt underscore password. All right, so we're going to have the crypt function. Okay, all right, we create a parenthesis. All right, so 2 parameters will be passed in here. Okay, so we're going to pass in the password, all right, comma, so we have the hash and salt. Okay, so 2 parameters will be passed in here. So the crypt function, we're going to be, because we are dealing with the password. Okay, so we're going to be having the password pass in there, and the hash and salt variable pass in there as the second parameter. All right, so basically let's take this off. Let's just leave it as password, because we are actually passing password into the database. So if we put the encrypt password, we will have to change this. Okay, so we don't need to do that. All right, so let's just put password as a variable. So when the program is reading it from the top to the bottom, it goes all the way, and everything that we have here is passed into this password variable. Then it goes in here and send it to the database. Okay, so that is all that we are going to be doing. So we're going to be testing this program, this code that we have written here. We're going to be testing it. So let's make sure that semicolons are well stated there, and let's check that out. All right, so let's go and do something with that. So we'll go back to our create, and let's reload. Okay, so I'm just going to be having Patrick. Let's put Patrick David. All right, now I'm going to put the password 123. Okay, so submit. All right, now let's go to our database and check that out. All right, let's go check it. Okay, we have an error here. So let's go back and see what that is. Okay, so this is okay. Yeah, I'll call this while. All right, as format. Okay, we omitted a dollar sign here, so there have to be a dollar sign closing the times that you have this repeated. Okay, how many times you will want the hash. So we need to put a dollar sign at the end of this. So let's go check it out. let's go check it out again. Okay, so I'm just going to put in Patrick, David, another. Okay, so here I'm going to have 1, 2, and 3. Okay, then we submit the record. So record created. So we go down to our code and let's go reload that again. Okay, so you see that our password has been encrypted, and you see that there are so many characters that we have right here. Okay, so this is how it actually happens. So if I click down here on this, okay, so you see that the characters are much. Okay, there are so many. Okay, so making it very hard for attackers to actually attack this particular password. All right, so that is how to actually encrypt this password. Okay, that's how to encrypt the password. All right, so and we made use of the crypt blowfish. Okay, so that is how it actually works. All right, so we have all these formats that we have stated here. This is the format that we use, the blowfish format. Okay, this is what actually gives us what we did right now. We use the blowfish format, so you can use the SHA-256. Okay, so this the procedure to actually use this is quite different, and you can use any one of these formats. The MD5 basically used for by WordPress, and it's really popular in WordPress sites. So that is all you need to know. So if you're having issues and you're having problem in doing this, you can always go back to the lecture and get the right stuff, and you are good to go. So that is all that we're going to be doing in this format, in this particular course, and I'll be seeing you in our next video. Okay, just stay glued, and bye for now.